Hello, Nirmal. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for making the time and joining us for this podcast.
Thank you for inviting us.
I've been looking to talk to you for some time, but God willing, we got your time now. So, welcome to Perth Dialogues.
Thank you. Thank you, Nirmal.
I thought of introducing you, but you are into so many things that I can't do justice. So, probably I'll leave you to introduce yourself to the listeners.
Okay, great. First of all, I'm an Australian citizen now. I was born in Afghanistan. I am a counselor. I have my own paid job, and then I have a love job, which is my AFG Young Leaders. AFG Young Leaders started and incorporated from 2018, but we've been operating for much longer than that, from 2016. Very proud of it. We're doing very well for the community, the Afghan refugees and the newcomers, trying to assist them with their resettlement, as this journey is a very difficult journey, and we want to help them go through this in much better way.
We'll start from the start. So you're born in Afghanistan.
Yes.
How was the days there, and what was your journey from Afghanistan to Australia?
During the time of Russian occupation in Afghanistan, we left Afghanistan because it wasn't suitable for us, and the ideology did not suit my parents. At that time, we were very young, so we had no decision on that. My parents decided to come to India. We lived there as a refugee, and UNHCR would pay us to live. Although difficulty was that we were not accepted in the mainstream schooling there, and that's why we had to come to Australia, and we applied for visa. We're very happy to be here, although I miss India all the time because it was a beautiful, beautiful, very close to our culture, very similar food, nice people. We have great memories from India as well.
Right. So when you moved from Afghanistan to India as a refugee, and you got a refuge there, you stayed there for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You studied there.
Studied
So
there.
basically you are settled there. So
Yes.
why move to a new country? You are safe.
Mm-hmm. Because United Nations will not pay forever, and finding a job in India for my parents was very difficult at that time. They were young enough to work. Also, my brother and sisters, other siblings, were not accepted in the school system and mainstream in India because you had to be a citizen there to go. Otherwise, you have to pay fees. And UNHCR would pay us at that time to pay that fees. But there is a limited number of years that you can get assistance from UNHCR. It was difficult for us to live in India.
So you never thought, or your family never thought of applying for citizenship there?
No, actually, you're right. We never thought this. I've never asked my parents about that all these years. And now that you're saying it's just amazing. But we've been back and forth from India all the time. I visit India at least once a year, if not more. 2021, actually, we went there twice. I still have very good friends in India. We quite relate there because I did my college there. I did social work in India. And I loved every moment of it. I studied in Jamia Millia in Delhi. And it's beautiful.
Have you ever thought of going and becoming a citizen now?
No, I didn't think about it like that, but haven't given a thought like that, no. No.
Okay, so now you are in Australia. How was your early years? You've already done your education in India.
Yep.
So did you study again?
Yeah, I did. I had to go through study again, and India, I've learned a lot, but still I had to study here again to qualify for other jobs. Social work was, since I was very young at that time, I didn't want to work as a social worker. During those days when we came as a refugee, experience was so bitter, and I didn't want to work in that area. So I went and did dental nursing, and then I didn't like to work as a dental nurse as well. So I finished it, I qualified, but then I decided to go into real estate, and very successful. I worked for 3 years in real estate. Then I decided to go further study, and I did juvenile justice. And then after that, worked in welfare again. So that was my fate to come back in. My passion was hidden, but it really came out that I really wanted to be in that area of helping others, especially when I saw my parents going through the resettlement here in Australia, and the devastation and the issues that we faced. It is not easy to resettle in another country completely. New area, new people, new language. And I saw my parents struggling with studying English language and learning, although they were general directors of the bank in Afghanistan, of the Afghanistan bank. It was not easy for them. They were depressed here. I saw them going through depression. I saw them going through a loss of identity, isolation. These things really affected me, and also I came back to helping the welfare system, and work in the welfare system also was the trigger point was that I saw my parents going through it. And then I saw, initially I worked as an interpreter, and I saw that during my interpreting years, I saw a lot of how can I say, flaws in the system. We always need to improve. We always need to. I'm not saying the system is bad. Everybody has a great faith and a lot of passion when they're working in this area, but there is always learning curve. We always need to learn to become better. For the betterment, there is always room. And because as an interpreter, you sit as a third person there, as completely neutral, you see the flaws. And if you're in it, you can't see it. So for me, then I decided after 15 to 18 years of experience in this area, I said, why not I start an organization where I can eliminate those flaws or those issues that are existing at the moment in the welfare system. How about if we do it differently? How about if we tailor-made projects and program and workshops for these people that I think it's more sufficient and more efficient? So I went back to Afghanistan in 2010 and lived there and worked there in the system with 8 organizations in Afghanistan for capacity building for women and in the battlefield. And it was the most amazing learning that I could not get it from any university or any school. Practical work was something different in that area. It taught me a lot. So I know these people prior coming to Australia, and after coming to Australia, I know their difficulties. I understand where they're coming from, what are the issues affecting them, what isolation is, and all sorts of things. So starting AFG Young Leaders, actually, I began with just 7 people as English classes and as a second language. We tried to have a conversation classes. It escalated to over 100 people. And every day I learned that we're doing something right. This is why we're growing so fast. And I want to duplicate this with other agencies. I've been talking to so many people like Red Cross and Communicare. We've done several projects with Nagala and many other service providers who are doing a fantastic job. We did many projects as a collaboration and networking with them as well. And every one of them was amazing success. We're very result driven. We're focused on the results all the time, and we do a lot of evaluation. Every project that we start, before starting or creating a project, we do a thorough study and research and meetings with community individually and also as a group. I attend almost 90% of all the community gatherings and community events, so I know exactly what the problems and issues are. And the advantage is that I speak the language, like 5 languages, and I have good rapport with all the ethnicities, Hazara, Uzbek, Tajik, Pashtun, in here in Perth and overseas. And that enables me to tailor make good projects, and our workshops are always successful. So there are some issues that are affecting us, which is the grants and the availability of grants for grassroots organizations. Community organizations are always underfunded, unfortunately. But they're doing the job. We are doing all the work. I shouldn't say all the work, but majority of the work, and the way we conduct our workshops are most successful, because a lot of the mainstream organizations are always calling us and asking us for help, and we're very happy to provide them with answers, with information, with insight to the community and how it works. But the one thing is really difficult for us is that we are not receiving the funds that we're really eligible for, according to my opinion and many others who are involved in this kind of work. Grassroots community organizations are putting 100% effort because they've been through this journey. They speak the language, they know the culture, they're very familiar with what's happening with their community and their people. But they're unfortunately a lot of times their expertise are underlooked, and they're not getting what they really deserve. Maybe a handful of people, due to lack of knowledge about the system and lack of language ability, they did not handle the money properly or whatever it was. But it's maybe 0.1%. But then all the others have been suffering because of that one negligence. But also, there is they do say there are a lot of help, and I know there are many organizations who are helping, assisting people with the paperwork, but it's not to the extent that someone can sit and write a grant for you. It's always on you, and these people are all. We don't have core funding to pay someone to write a grant, so we all working volunteer, and we have to take time out from our family time, from our own time. We all have mortgages, we all have expenses, but we still have to make time to write grants, and it's only for 1,000, for 5,000, for 6,000. It's not more. It makes it very difficult for us to survive and continue the good work that we're doing.
That's your whole life journey. So I've got so many questions on that. Let's start from when you initially talked about the challenges that your father and family faced. Talk us through those challenges. You said he was facing depression, there was language issues. What more? And was it because of his cultural shock from moving from Afghanistan to Australia, or was it not accepting by the community here?
No, actually, the depression was a total separation from the country of birth, from where he was born, and his identity, his family. He left his father behind, who wasn't well at the time, and his other siblings. So it is not an easy thing. Migration is the most difficult I think decision that one can make, one have to make. It's inflicted upon people. It's forced. It's not a choice, because situations are changing in such a way that you can't really live in a country of your birth due to your dangers. That is because of your ideology is different. So you have to leave people behind. You have to leave your belongings behind, your job behind. My dad studied 14 years to become a banker, and he was in a good position, but suddenly he had to leave everything because his life was in danger. and so did my mom. So we left everything behind. We had to restart everything in India, and then from there, after 5 years, again we have to leave everything, all our friends, all the people, connections we made, the home, because the United Nations also had a specific time limit for families and a contract with India that they can stay for so long. Another thing, before you mentioned that we didn't want to accept to become a citizen, is actually that choice was not given to us. I think the paperwork that when you interview in India, they do say that there's limited time to live and you don't have choice to apply for citizenship or something like that. So all that affected us. And then coming back here in Australia, again, new language, completely new people, new environment. There was a lot of issues, even though, I mean, racism, we do say, oh, doesn't exist or it's not there, but you yourself feel it sometimes because it's in you, it's within you. Sometimes if people mistreat or they talk to you, sometimes people have different days and different situations can affect their behavior towards you, and you quickly say, well, it's because of my color, and that was there as well. So those things also affected my parents. My dad was depressed for all the years. There was times that he would, but he was very strong man. He wouldn't show it to us. But now that I've studied, I'm a counselor now. So now that I studied and I know what depression is, I remember and I can recall the situations and the way my dad was living. He had cancer as well and heart conditions, both of them, which we know now that's caused by depression and anxiety, and it's to do with emotion. So that as well. So
right.
I hope I answered your question.
How did you got your job as an interpreter? Was it hard to join the profession?
Not really. At that time, it wasn't difficult. I studied at TAFE, professional interpreting, which we were the first batch, about 12 people who studied proper, when we have a proper diploma in interpreting. Very quickly, after that, we were employed, so there was no problem with the TIS, Translating Interpreting Services, Department of Immigration. It was a great experience. We've learned a lot.
Okay. So when you work with those people for whom you were interpreting and the challenges they were facing, were there similar challenges to what your family had faced, or there were different challenges because of different times now?
You see, the Afghanistan migration occurred in 3 different batches.
Mm-hmm.
It happened, the first one that we were, the first lot, that those were the people who belonged to, they working very closely with the government officials and the family, because those who related to the royal family or to very close relative of people in high positions in the army, they left. And then the second one was when all the professionals left, who were teachers, doctors, who could afford and had the money and get a passport, they left. Then the third one was the last batch, who was mostly those communities who were from not working class, but also those who had issues with ethnicity, religion. Taliban came, so Hazaras left, and Pashtuns and Tajiks, and these ethnicity war and the civil war. So 3 different types of people also we're dealing with, and their issues were different. During my interpreting, I did learn that people left because of many of them were killed, and their homes, they lost maybe 2-3 members of their family. So they came with a lot of trauma, and people who were tortured. Also, that their migration was different, and they were for different reasons. So psychologically also they were different. They came with different baggage, I should say. All migration, when it happens, people enter another country with lots of baggages, and theirs was more severe. The third lot was more difficult.
So you were interpreting for 3 or 4 or 5 languages, and there's a very strong current of when people come to Australia, they should learn English, and so that we can have a pan-Australian language. How do we synthesize these two things, that people have their languages, they want to keep their languages and keep working with their languages and use their languages in all their functions and government interactions, whereas the community has an expectation that you learn English and you interact, and your all social interaction is in English. What do you think?
I wish I could. I wish I could make that decision that everybody can converse in their own language. It would be really great, more comfortable. Seeing what my parents went through, I think I would. But then there is economy, and there is business, and there is always the one common language that exists nowadays. It's English in the world. So if you want to work, or you want to, people want to get into workforce, they have to learn the language. Though I've seen people during my work and the history of my work until today even, I'm having people who came the third lot of immigration. So I'm only talking about the Afghans at the moment, because those are the people that I work with closely. The women who have never been to school, never ever been to school in their country of birth, when they come here, they're put in the classroom after 3-4 months of arrival to study English, and they're given a pen and say copy this, or the teacher completely speak in English language. These people come with a lot of torture and trauma, a lot of difficulties. As I said, I don't want to go through it again. We all know that resettlement is a very difficult situation. So we are putting them in more stress, in grief, stress, and it's another trauma for them, another failure we're setting them up for. Most of them come to us with headaches, with severe depression. They're crying and they're saying, how, I don't know, this is alien to me completely. So we are forgetting, and I understand that a lot of people, when I call back to TAFE and places like that and say to take it easy, she can't come today, and they're not happy about it, especially the service providers, job providers. They're after 12 months they have to be registered with a service provider, and 12 months is not adequate for them to learn a language, to resettle, even though learn another language, to even know where they are at, to gather their thoughts, to deal with their emotional and health issues that they've been suffering due to atrocities that they've been through in their country of birth, and which forced them to leave their homeland. So then we are saying within 12 months you have to register with the job employment and look for a job. She doesn't have driving license, she doesn't have language, she doesn't have, but we're the job providers are asking for reasons why you don't attend the classes and why you are not getting a certificate for your headaches or for your issues and problems. And we all know how the health system also works. It's everybody has their responsibilities. The doctor is responsible to answer if they keep giving letters for exemption. They also have to answer authorities. So it's very difficult. We are really setting them up. If we're forcing those who have never been literate in their own country to force them to learn another language, a new language, read and write, and then find a job and answer to authorities why they haven't found a job. They have to write a list of so many numbers of jobs every week that they've been contacting. We really are setting these people for another failure for another stress. And I think we need to reconsider these issues and look into it more with more passion and more compassion. That's my experiences, and this is why the services that we're providing, conversation classes, are totally different than a classroom setup to teach them English. To be able to at least make a call, make an appointment with a doctor, or calling the school that I'm unable to come today, or going to attending the meetings with the children at school. These are the things that we are teaching in our classes, and this is why we're growing so fast.
So if we make you the Prime Minister, how are you going to solve this issue? How long would you provide the support that whoever needs so that they can join workforce or whatever? How are you going to solve it?
You see, the resettlement program, first of all, we always forget that these people are not coming here by choice. They're forced to leave their homeland. No one wants to leave their homeland to come somewhere else without preparation. People who are coming for a study to another country, they prepare for it for years to go and study. They're equipped, their mind is made up. These people are forced, and sometimes, especially lately, the evacuation, these people got on the plane, they didn't know where they're going, where they're taken. They had some of them came with pajamas, so they're not prepared. I think we need to look into that. First of all, why they're coming. Once we got that correct, then we can see what are the needs for a family and how long we can support them. I think 5 years resettlement will be excellent, but the system, the English classes had to be not like a classroom setup. We need to consider their background. How can we modify this to make it easier for them to learn English? We are not a classroom setup. We do English conversations in a very different way, and it works. So I really like to share that information with everyone who needs to. The issue is that many organizations are happy the way they are, and they don't want to look into change. Change is a very difficult thing. Only the system we can't change. The way we teach English we can't change. How could we expect these people to change everything about their life and their identity in a 12 months time? We need to really think about that.
Has there any studies or any research been done on what would be the cost of managing that settlement program for 5 years, or maybe whatever is needed?
The cost could be anything, but is this program, is what we're doing, does it work? If it is successful, then it's fine. But if it's not really working, and at the end of the 5 years we don't have someone going to work with the way we have, and I'm talking about those who never studied, they come here and we put them in a classroom. At the end of the 12 months, do they really learn English? If they do, then it works. If it's not, then we'll need to look at the changes. And according to my experience, and I've been working with so many people, it's not working. We don't have the people in workforce.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so shifting some topics, while you were doing your interpreting work and your life in Australia, what about, how was your own family going? You got married, you had kids,
yeah.
And how are you doing managing all this while you had managing your own family?
Yes. Well, I've been studying and I'm married and I have 3 kids, and I went back to Afghanistan with my children. I took them with me when I was working in that situation, helping women in crisis in Afghanistan. I worked in the leadership. We provided leadership classes for those in the ministerial positions. With the Ministry of Interior, we helped women become more independent and go through leadership classes. We helped those who had a scholarship to come to Australia. prior coming here, we helped them. So these are the fields that I work with, and taught me a lot. And while I was coaching people and studying for leadership, it helped me manage my own life better. And the reason I chose to work in this field, although I had my own family, is again the journey that I went as a child through, and I saw my parents. I want the other children not to go through those difficulties, and if I can make their life a bit easier. And that's why, because of the passion, because I'm so passionate about this fact, I managed to deal with it. And now I'm very proud that my daughter is 20 and she's helping me alongside. Since she was 13, she was helping me with all this stuff. And now she herself is a very intelligent and highly qualified counselor. And she also works with Centrelink, and she's studying project management. So I've managed to help my children also follow this path of helping others, living for others. It's everybody can live for themselves, but once you start living for other people, it's got a different pleasure. When you see the outcome, when you see people smiling, you feel great because you created this and you've helped people to resettle better. And the difficulties that my parents went through, I want the new families not to suffer that much, not to go through the difficulties. So I'm here to help, and I do advocate on behalf of my community, especially women and children, and men. I think there are so many information, so many courses for women, but there is not much for men. So we have done 2 men workshops. One was with the Communicare 2 years ago, which was very, very successful. And we've been working with Men's Shed as well, and to provide information for the Afghan men. And that's totally another story why we want to help men, because there is not enough information. If we only work with one gender, it's very difficult. We're not helping the family, so it has to be a holistic approach.
You left Afghanistan first in 1983, 80s, early. Mm-hmm. You went back in 2010. How had Afghanistan changed itself in those 30 years?
When I left, Afghanistan was a beautiful, very civilized, very modern culture, and beautiful. When I went back, I felt 150 years backwards. Not only the mentality of people have changed, but also the buildings were destroyed completely, because during 2000 bombing that America did for Osama bin Laden and the Taliban, the infrastructure of the country completely was destroyed. There was nothing left, nothing. All those beautiful buildings, historical buildings that we knew as a child, it was all destroyed. Our house was destroyed. The streets that I grew up in, all were destroyed. So completely devastating for me to see that, and all the memories, all the even the trip for me. That journey wasn't easy in the beginning, because people will not also accept you there because you're a foreigner. You left the country. So it wasn't easy for me. I had to struggle to fit in again in the society. And once they saw me, that I'm down to earth, I'm the same as them, I still follow my culture, my religion, and everything that my dad taught us. Even though I didn't do much schooling in Afghanistan, I still managed to study here further. My dad always helped us to keep our language, keep reading and writing, and books I studied here. So they were very surprised actually to see that I'm still keeping up with the culture, and then they started to accept me, and then my journey was much easier. I traveled during that time to many districts in Afghanistan, taking projects, sewing projects, all the capacity building projects for women in the areas. And it was very pleasant. I learned a lot.
So you talked about Afghan culture. Tell us about Afghan culture. Is it one single composite culture, or is it a mixture of different cultures that, like in India? Or
you see, Afghanistan is the only country that is 98% Muslim, and we have one Jewish at the moment, one person, and we have the Sikh community. So these the Afghan. We don't have any other religion. So it's Sikh and Muslim. And the culture is actually very much same to the religion. It's not different. And always in Afghanistan, the law always have been the Sharia law. And although having said that, there are extremists everywhere. So Afghanistan also has some extremist people who did not study much about the religion. They followed a culture which came from many years ago, and the culture is a bit harsher, and it's far from reality. It can be very cruel sometimes, because, for example, I just give you a small example for girls getting married young, and without asking them, you can actually organize and arrange their marriage. It's not in Islam, but it's in culture. So this is the differences in the because the Islam says you must ask the girl. The girl has to be, that both parties have to be agreed, and they have to be a mature age. They have to. This is what the book says, but who follows the books? It's the culture that makes the decision. And respect for women's rights, and in the book it says different. The culture is following something different. And especially when I went back, I saw another huge drop in this situation, because when Taliban has their own version of, the Taliban at that time had their own version of interpretation of the religion and the culture. So it was very difficult. Very difficult.
Okay. I've worked with the Hazara community in Perth. I've heard about Pashtun. Where do all these fit in? I've heard about Kurds along the Iranian border. So where do all these fit in the culture?
Hazaras have their own. Generally, culture is same culture, Afghan culture. You respect for women. Women do wear a chadar, not a niqab. This is very new for the country. And chadari was another one that's been for years and years in Afghan culture. In Kabul, but in provinces, we didn't see chadari. We always saw a chadar, a big chadar. People wear it, and very quite civilized in a way. It used to be, but now it's totally different. It's a full niqab. It's all, especially that time that I went back, it was very different. So people are very undermined by any new regime that come, and they bring their own rules, and the type of people that are in power, they have their own interpretation of the religion. Obviously, where there's civil war and there is an attack and of occupation of another country, and everybody's armed. Everybody has access to weapons, because weapons are readily available, coming through Pakistan and through other countries, smuggled into the country. So everybody in power and thinking that we are not safe if we don't have weapons, they all have weapons. And that makes it a dangerous society. So whoever has more weapons and more money or more land can make rules of their own. So every town you go, there is a different rule, there are new rules. And this is all not just in Afghanistan. It could happen to any country that's in turmoil and in war, this is a very normal practice, because people, for their own safety and survival, because it's a survival mentality, everybody create their own set of rules and regulations.
One question which I've always discussed with many people here and also in India is that and you said as well that 99% people are Muslims.
Yeah.
Taliban is a Muslim organization. They are trying to implement Sharia, which is an Islamic doctrine. What's the problem? A group is implementing an Islamic doctrine on Islamic people. What's the problem?
At the moment, at present situation, people are, what I hear, people are happy with what's happening. There's security. There's no bombing that it used to be before and stuff like that. But during that time when I went, 2010, 2013, most of the provinces where the control of Taliban was there, it wasn't safe. There was decisions making. As I said, Taliban also had different groups in their system. So just like everywhere else, when everybody is armed, you can do all sorts of things. And they groups, human greed, human hungry for power, they've created their own groups of Taliban. So different types of Taliban, different ethnicities of Taliban, because we have 4 major ethnicities in Afghanistan. So everybody has always created their own, and then they would have war against each other for further greed and further. And mind you, there was a lot of influences from outside the country as well, because Pakistan is interfering with Afghanistan quite a lot. And they're due to financial benefits that they're getting from Afghanistan, and the business people who are importing, they have to go through Pakistan to get to other, because we are not close to sea, and that has affected the power, the distribution of power amongst different groups as well. So also ethnicity became a major thing before you mentioned about all these ethnicities and near. So Iran was another influencer during this time, that they, of course, sending their people, their agents inside the country to create trouble, to create problems in order to benefit them. Because when the country is in turmoil, all the neighboring countries benefit from their issues. So the Amur River, for example, is another major thing that's always flowing into Iran and Pakistan, but nothing for the country. This was another issue that people constantly fighting. I don't know if you heard about the Japanese man who came and trying to help Afghanistan with the river. They killed him. So everybody believes that someone from another country came and killed him. So there is a lot of rumors going, a lot of issues. Yeah.
You mentioned Iran, and I had I was thinking about this thing because I was talking to Mehdi in Perth. So Iran has been enforcing wearing hijab in Iran.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of protests going on for about 6 months and even more in Perth against those things. We had seen a death of that woman, and the protests have been going on. Taliban has been doing the same thing in Afghanistan, enforcing all these dress codes. But we don't see that kind of a protest in Afghan community against those imposition of dress codes and things. Why is the difference between Iranian protests and Afghan protest?
Afghanistan has, been always, hijab was a part of our culture as well as our religion, and it was accepted by women all the time. Really, hijab is to protect women themselves. It's for their own protection, it's for their own safety, and it's more comfortable for them. In Iran, there is Baha'i people who are majorly against the hijab, The Muslim Iranians never had issues with them, with the hijab at all. Maybe some who was influenced by others. Afghan women, as I said, even in the provinces, they always had hijab. And our hijab was not a niqab. It was more like just a chador, which is very much accepted, by many other religions and cultures. For example, in Sikh religion, the chador or dupatta is very important. People love it, and they always spend a lot of money on that, actually, more than the clothes themselves. So women take pride in their hijab. Nobody is against it. When I went to Afghanistan, I was wearing hijab because I had to be, I didn't want to be like a sore thumb, and I wanted to fit into the society. And at that time, it was for my own safety. And believe me, I used to wear the biggest one, and they used to laugh at me. You're coming from overseas. Why are you wearing such a big hijab? Look at ourselves. Look at us. We're not. But for me, it was for my safety, and this is how you have respect in the society. And Iran is affected by a lot of other influences from outside as well, like our country was and is all the time. As we know, it's not something we can deny. It's a fact that many countries are after the resources in small countries, and it's nothing to deny about it. Everybody knows about it. That those countries with lots of resources always paid the price, and there will be turmoil in their countries because of what they have. Afghanistan is a very rich country. It's got a lot of minerals and a lot of oil and gases and uranium and all that. So I'm not talking something nobody knows. Everybody knows about it.
That's a good perspective. So you came back from Afghanistan in 2013. So was it easy to go back to your interpreting role, or you started? How was your life after 2013?
Okay, after that, as soon as I came here, I called Tis again and I said I'm back, and I really, knowing my history and who I was and how I worked with Tis, my ability and the number of languages and the number of years of service I provided for them, they straight away asked me, when do you want to start? So that was great, and I started straight away back, and my husband also got back to work, and we started life again in Australia, and still going well.
So tell us about your business that you're doing, and the AFG Young Leaders that you talked about initially.
Yeah. My business as a counselor and a life coach, I'm very, very passionate about it, because all the years my living as a refugee, leaving my country behind, settling in India, making lots of friends, then leaving all my friends again, my home, my identity in India again, coming back here, living here, going through ups and downs in life, and getting married, having children, meeting on my daily basis with interpreting all kinds of different people, different difficulties, interpreting with psychologists, the hospitals and all that, enabled me to be a very good candidate for coaching, life coaching. So because I have so much experience and I'm very successful in what I'm doing, I'm very happy. I have great, happy clients. I managed to change many people's lives, and I get great comments from my colleagues, and my clients always send me happy emails, which is really good. I have also worked through court system, family, children services that taught me a lot about family lifestyle and demography of family and the issues affecting the family, and divorce especially. So I'm a good divorce coach at the moment with my yes, I'm trying to help and assist people to have a civilized divorce if they want to go through it. First of all, try to not to go through divorce. And if you do it civilized, and please don't use children against each other. So that's my passion. This is the field I work most. With AFG Young Leaders, also, as I said, all this background knowledge helped me to run this program together with my daughter very well. We also have a youth program which Marwa is running, and the women's program and projects I'm running. And the name of AFG Young Leaders, recently we've trying to have other projects called City. It's community elevation, inclusion, transformation and inclusion, which have under this umbrella we have many projects for families and children. This is another program that feeds my soul every day, and I feel great about myself and my family and everything that I put back into the community and to Australian society, because I owe it to Australian society. We seek refuge and they gave us home here, so it's payback time to create a peaceful society in Australia as well.
So AFG Young Leaders, do you work only with Afghan community, or anyone who can want to be a part of your workings?
AFG Young Leaders, at the moment, we're working only with the Afghan community, but occasionally with our sewing classes and capacity building workshops, we do network with other organizations who have different people, for example, African, Indian, Pakistani, Iranian. We are very working inclusive with them, although our services are majorly only, but we do collaborate with other people as only Afghan.
And how are you funded, because your target cohort has that kind of money to fund these services?
Yeah, we had a couple of funds. We had with Lottery West, who funded cans, and we were subcontracted with them. Nagala funded us for parenting program and projects, which was great. We had UMI funding for a couple of our events, big events. Women's Day celebration, we were funded by Canning, City of Canning, and youth programs with City of Stirling, a couple of small projects. Also, Wanneroo, City of Wanneroo helped us with Hainsworth, providing us with the whole for our Saturday programs. And we had a good grant just recently for women's program from the Migration Council, which was wonderful. We had about 50,000 with them, which we did an amazing job with, and we're continuing and that at this stage. We also had a very small funding from the local businesses, which was small here and there to cover our costs for events or refreshments and things like that, which was great.
So the community sector for running these NGOs is very saturated in Perth. How do you find the resources to run AFG? What are your challenges do you face?
We have a lot of challenges and a lot of issues affecting, which is really the sad part is that every time we approach some of the organizations, they discuss with us, we have a meeting, they take our idea and they run with it. So we end up with nothing. That's a major challenge. But also we have some of them who are really love to collaborate with us, and they understand that we can do this project better. So they get involved and they call their clients, and we have a beautiful collaboration on the projects. There are issues just like everywhere else. One is that we always facing if we create projects, we want to have a congregation between families, like we want men and women to be there, especially with parenting programs. I want men to be present. This is our difficult challenge. We are not able to do this, although we had an excursion which we were very happy. We had both parents in that picnic and went very well. Other issues are lack of funding, that we are not considered eligible according to the rules and regulations at the moment with the but recently we had appointments with OMI, and I think we were very happy with the outcome of those meetings.
One thing which routinely floats in media and other communications is that Australia has already given the safe passage out of Afghanistan. Australia is already funding Centrelink benefits and whatever benefits. We are already funding English classes. Why should Australia keep funding these programs going forward? Is there a limit? Is there a timeline that the funding should it be, these programs should be then managed by the community itself?
Well, to create a peaceful society, to create a environment where everybody is happy, is a win-win situation, we have to keep funding these programs. The community is doing their best to give their time and effort to volunteer for this. Like, for example, we have 350 members and more than 45 volunteers, all working, living. The cost prices for living is going up by day now. The petrol, the grocery, the rent, the mortgage, we can see this. And everybody who is giving their time, I think volunteering manpower is reducing because people have to go and get extra jobs which happened in our group now, that they have to work a second job. The students who were giving their time now, they can't because they have to get a job to help the parents paying the mortgage. So we're losing that manpower, and it's everywhere, not just with AFG. So even people who were retired, they were helping us. Now they have to work when they're becoming their son's accountant, one of our volunteers, because her son can't afford to pay for the accountant anymore. So this is really affecting all of us overall. And I think the government needs to fund these places, because now more than before, because mental health is affecting the society and the financial system is affecting mental health with the community. We're getting more and more people coming with mental health, depression issues due to finance situations. So we're urging actually the government to fund us now even more, because we are the only ones who are really working closely with these people. We have people who are coming from other mainstream community organizations to us because they haven't been helped properly. There is, as we all know, that one caseworker cannot handle more than 10-15 families a week. So they're coming to us, and we're getting in groups now. People who were referred to other agencies are coming back to us.
From your experience of your own business and AFG Young Leaders, you work in relationships. So are there any peculiar relationship issues that Afghan families face, or are they same as any other family?
Every ethnicity, every country, every culture have their own issues and problems dealing with. Afghanistan at the moment, more so with because women are in crisis in the country, and everybody has these families here has a sister, daughter, cousin in Afghanistan. So this is why these people need more help here with mental health issues because they're worried. Imagine a family is going through difficulty because their loved ones overseas are suffering. They don't have food to eat. They're selling one child to feed the others. So how it's going to affect the cousin who lives here or the sister who lives here? Obviously, there is problems. A lot of problems are happening in the community right now that there is one breadwinner in the family, the husband's working, and he can send money to his own family. But what about the wife? The wife is here also, and her family over there have expectations from her. She is not working, so she can't send money overseas, and it's a difficult thing saying that if you send for your sister, you have to send to my sister as well. And it's causing a lot of difficulties right now in the families. I hear every day issues because of this. We can't deny the people who are coming here still have connections, deep relationship with those who are their blood relatives overseas in Afghanistan suffering. So we can't separate these two. Oh, you're here now, don't worry about them. It doesn't work that way. So the families here are having a lot of difficulties. And this difficulty between husband and wife can turn to violence. Domestic violence is affecting our children, right? Children go to school, it affects the school system. We can't separate these things. They're all one problem, one issue, and we're all facing it. Everyone, mainstream people, families who are here, it doesn't matter where you come from, who are you, how long you've been in Australia, you are affected by the immigration issues and the migrant torture and trauma problems. It's affecting all of us. We can't deny, we can't close eyes. We bring these people here, we're responsible for them, to resettle them properly and appropriately so it doesn't affect the rest of the people.
We talked about the relationship problems faced by the families. How did you manage to run your business, your interpreting things, and your community services with 3 kids? It's too hard with 3 kids. Yes. How did you manage, and what kept you going?
My passion kept me going. My experience in 3 years in Afghanistan is keeping me going because I saw what these people are suffering with and how much they're suffering and why. So, and also I'm very lucky to be in Australia and have the education that I have so I can help others. That keeps me going. And also my responsibility for the community, Australian community where I am here, is keeping me going because I need to create a peaceful society for Australia. We need to resettle these people properly in order to have peaceful society, what we are always screaming about. We cannot have peaceful society if the resettlement is not happening properly. We're forgetting this fact that it's so important, it's so crucial that these people are not suffering. When they come with their baggages, we need to help them with the baggage, not create more baggage for them. But the system that we presently have, unfortunately, it's creating more baggage, more failure, more depression, more anxiety for these people. So this is what keeps me going, to eliminate these issues for people, to help them. What my parents suffered with, I don't want the newcomers to suffer with it. So I want their life to be a bit easier. And I managed because my husband's very helpful. He helped me with this. Even when I packed up and left, he managed to leave everything, his work, his job and everything, because I was passionate and I wanted to help people back in Afghanistan. He said, okay, let's go. And over there, I was helping and working, and he looked after the kids with a nanny that we had there. He made sure that I'm at peace with my decision, and his family was very helpful there as well. That helped me. And coming here as well, he's helping me with housework all the time and helping me with the kids. And thank God we've brought up our children very tough. We didn't spoil them so much. None of them had mobile phones until they went to uni. So we were watching out for all these things, because the reason I took them back to Afghanistan is to see life close, and they saw death from very close. And that taught them they're very strong mentally, emotionally, and I hope physically as well, because it is very important for survival. You need to survive, you need to be strong to survive, and to help others. Mainly, we're looking after ourselves and our family in order to help others. And I always pray to my Creator that help me, give me strength so I can help others. And that's our motto in the family as well.
On your personal challenges, Afghan culture and community is very male dominated.
Yeah.
So, how do you find when you take up these initiatives to run as a woman? How is your acceptance within the Afghan community that a woman is running all this and she is coming and telling us what to do and what not to do?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I used to be a bit hesitant about starting the men's group, the workshop. Once it went ahead, and initially it was surprising for them, but when they started coming in, the way I was approaching my attitude towards them, they felt very great, because in counseling I've learned how to understand them first, listen to them, to their issues, to their problems. They feel better because most of the times when they come to Australia, they are told in the first initial interview, this is your wife's account and you can't inquire about it. It's the first interview shocks them to the system, and they become very confused, and it's difficult for them to accept the system very easily, because their core is being shaken. They've been always the breadwinner, the responsible person for the family, the father of the family, and suddenly they have no right to inquire. And then they ask the woman, if you want your husband, you can allow him, give him permission to. And that's another shock to them, like, whoa. So, yes, and it's not just, even now, as we can see in Australian society, or everywhere around the world in the developed countries, there is no equality between men and women with the payment, with the wages. We can see it's always been there. So we can't deny that. And man as masculine always is the protector of the family. It's natural. We can't go against that. But women, it depends how you come across. The workshops that I used to have before, women were difficult to come, and the husbands didn't give permission. But once they saw their wives, the change in them, and the information that the women took back home, and their behavior changed towards their husbands, it become more romantic, more kind, and more, because that's what we teach them, that man and woman is both equally responsible for the family, and we both have to respect and love each other in order to have a peaceful society. So when the men, I see those men who were stopping their women to come to classes, they actually drove them, they brought them, they said, don't catch a bus, I'll take you there, because of the results. And this is the type of programs we've created, and that's our aim. And I think because of that, I've been accepted very well in the community and very well in the mosque. I attend most of their gatherings, and every religious festival I'm there. I'm invited, especially as a guest of honor, and that's really inspiring for me, and inspires me every day to go on more.
You've done a lot of work in the community, and you were recently nominated for the 2013 Sterling Community Citizen Award. Yes. Tell us about that.
It was very inspiring. Actually, that was another one that really inspired me, and I didn't know. It was a surprise for me, and I'm very grateful for it. I'm very honored, actually, to be a part of all those who've been nominated. And someone did, and I'm really happy and grateful. And I had Fatima Paiman there as well, and many others respected people were in that crowd, and I was so happy to be one of those people.
Many congratulations
Thank
on the
you.
nomination.
Thank you.
And on that note, we'll leave this to the rest at the moment. Thank you for finding time. Thank you for doing all the great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I've been following AFG Leaders for some time.
Thank you.
Since at least when I was working at Kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
Since then. And now I'll talk to Hazara community and other communities, so I keep track of what's happening there. It's good to hear the same good things from different sources, which means good things are happening.
Thank
it's
you.
Not
Thanks,
from one
Nirmal.
side.
Thank you so much. You yourself are doing amazing job, and
I've
very grateful.
seen Marwa rising through census, through nomination
for
the Balga Award, which is good. The young people, when you are teaching other young people to do good things and rise and take care of themselves, it's a good example that I'm not preaching. I'm taking responsibility for myself, putting myself to challenge. So it's good to put yourself up. Congratulations to you for raising those wonderful kids.
Thank you so much.
And I hope that you'll come back very soon, and then we'll talk about the relationship aspects and your coaching and counseling with families and working with people. So thank you again.
Thank you, Nirmal. Thank you for a great job that you're doing. You're doing fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Do like, subscribe, and share on whichever platform you have heard this. To know more about Perth Dialogues, please visit perthdialogues.au. From everyone in the studio, goodbye.